Roman Reigns just ended a 14-year rivalry with Seth Rollins, and the second the cameras stopped rolling, he took a shot at the one man who wasn't even in that building. Jon Moxley wasn't mentioned by name. He didn't need to be. Welcome back to WrestlingCannva. Let's break down exactly what Reigns said, why it reads as a direct shot at his old Shield brother, and why there's real reason to think Moxley won't let this one slide quietly. Night 2 of SummerSlam at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis delivered the final chapter of Reigns vs. Rollins, billed as the last time these two would ever step in the ring together. It ran over 33 minutes, and Reigns walked out with the World Heavyweight Championship still around his waist, finally getting a clean, decisive win over Rollins after over a decade of history between them. What made this match different wasn't just the result. It was how heavily both men leaned on the memory of their third Shield brother throughout the entire thing. Rollins walked out wearing a white version of their old tactical vest and offered it to Reigns, who refused it outright. During the match itself, Rollins hit Reigns with the exact rebound lariat Moxley made famous as Dean Ambrose, and Reigns answered back with Dirty Deeds, the same move Moxley now calls the paradigm shift in AEW. Commentator Michael Cole even called out Moxley's old WWE name during the sequence, making sure nobody watching missed the reference. After the match, Reigns sat down for an interview and revealed exactly what he told Rollins right before the finishing spear. He said it's always been him and Seth, going all the way back to their days in FCW. Then he went further, saying that even in the Shield, they always knew Ambrose was, in his words, a wild hare, while he and Rollins were the ones who knew they'd change the business, the ones who held the fort down when other people got scared and ran off. Read that carefully. Reigns didn't just reminisce about brotherhood. He drew a line separating himself and Rollins from Moxley, framing Moxley as the unpredictable outlier while positioning himself and Rollins as the real architects of everything the Shield became. That's a pointed comment, delivered on a massive stage, about a man who spent years building an entirely different legacy in a rival promotion. If you want to know the moment Moxley actually responds, tap subscribe. I'm tracking this closely. This wouldn't be the first time Reigns and Moxley have exchanged words across the WWE-AEW divide, even indirectly. Moxley's commented publicly on Reigns' WWE run before, back when Reigns first turned heel and aligned with Paul Heyman years ago. These two have a real history of weighing in on each other from a distance, even while working for competing companies that rarely acknowledge each other directly. Moxley's never been the type to stay quiet when his own legacy gets reframed by somebody else, especially not in a AAA interview context designed to define Shield history without him in the room. He's built his entire post-WWE career around authenticity, on being blunt and unfiltered about his real opinions on the business, including his old company. If he heard Reigns describe him as a wild hare who wasn't fully committed to building anything, don't be surprised if he addresses that directly on a podcast or in a media interview of his own. If Moxley does respond, the most likely version isn't him ranking Reigns above Rollins or vice versa in some formal sense. It's him pushing back on the framing itself, likely making the case that his path away from WWE was its own kind of pioneering, arguably harder than staying inside a system that already valued him. Given his personality, expect him to lean into the wild hair label rather than reject it, turning Reigns' comment into fuel for his own AEW-based counter-narrative. This kind of cross-promotional tension matters more than it might seem on the surface. Moxley remains one of the most respected voices in wrestling media, specifically because he speaks candidly about both companies. If he weighs in on this, it instantly becomes one of the most talked about wrestling media moments of the week, regardless of which company either man currently works for. Now here's the honest part. Moxley hasn't officially responded to any of this yet, and there's no confirmation he will. But given his history of speaking his mind about WWE, and given how directly Reigns framed this, it's exactly the kind of moment that tends to get a reaction. Do you think Jon Moxley actually responds to what Reigns said? Tell me your prediction in the comments. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.